settles and eliminates any and all pending legal disputes with Mr. Zeigler concerning his bonding and other matters that are pending in court. Number 2, the agreement provides for Stark County to pay his back wages. His back wages include the amount of money that is owed to him from the date of his removal, which occurred in August 23, 2010 through today's date. That includes the date in which he was restored to office by the Supreme Court, and then payment for his position as treasurer from that date to today's date. That amount of payment, and this is a calculation of his salary that is made by the auditor's office, is a gross pay of $79,153.94. The agreement further provides that certain standard and other withholdings are made from that, leaving a net amount due and payable to Mr. Zeigler. All of that detailed information is contained as Exhibit B to this agreement and will be available for you. Again, I think it's important to emphasize that we believe that we're paying to him only that which has been legally determined as our obligation to pay by virtue of the ruling of the Ohio Supreme Court that restored him to office. It is clear that we owe him both the back wages and the wages to today's date. We are paying him nothing in addition to those back wages. We are agreeing in this or the parties are all agreeing that the amount of attorney fees which are due and owing to his lawyers will be held or paid at the amount of $175,000, subject to approval of the Common Pleas Court. His lawyers will need to submit, as they have previously done, legal bills to the court for the court's scrutiny and for the court's approval. This payment, again, is a legal obligation of Stark County. It's a payment that we believe that we have no ability to avoid. This issue has previously been litigated with partial payments of other attorney fees previously. There was a standing order from the Court of Common Pleas to pay these fees, and this is an agreed upon amount. We believe that this amount is actually less than he may otherwise be entitled to if this issue were to be further litigated. Also, the payment of the attorney fees at this time and the settlement cuts off our liability and responsibility for any future attorney fees. In this agreement, and there's a statement, and it's not specifically applicable to Stark County, but it indicates as part of his understanding with his attorneys, and again you will read this, is that his total attorney fees from all of their defense of his various cases and so forth are in the approximate amount of $400,000. And again, so Stark County is paying of that at this time $175,000, and there will be no additional payments on that. This agreement provides for settlement on the second term bond. Mr. Zeigler actually had 3 bonds in place while he was treasurer for the first 4 years of his term, and that is with, I believe, CNA Continental Company. There is no settlement with them at this time. Litigation with Continental will continue into the future with regard to payment of that bond. The face amount of that bond is $250,000, and that is in a pending lawsuit which is in the Common Pleas Court, but there has been no settlement with Continental on that. We had a second bond with the Hartford Company for the second term of office. That again was in the face amount of $250,000. This agreement provides that Hartford will pay to us the sum of $215,000. In addition to the $215,000, Mr. Zeigler has agreed, as part of that settlement, to pay in personally another $10,000 on that bond. So effectively, we're collecting $225,000 out of $250,000. There are legal reasons as to why we are accepting less than the full amount, but essentially, Hartford is asserting legal claims. They've indicated a desire to take up certain decisions of the court already to the Court of Appeals, and if necessary further on with regard to legal defenses that they would assert against payment on that bond. And we think that it's just expeditious at this time to settle this for the net amount of $225,000. The next item deals with relief from judgment. Stark County is going to continue to retain an amount of $250,000 on its judgment that it previously obtained against Mr. Zeigler. That $250,000 is necessary to protect our outstanding claim on the bond against Continental Casualty Company. The balance of his judgment, and the total judgment was in the approximate amount in slight excess of $1.8 million, is going to be released by the county. The prosecutor's office has conducted a sworn examination of Mr. Zeigler as to his assets and financial condition, and are the opinion that he is uncollectible as to the balance of that judgment. And again, it's a common thing that occurs, I guess, in our experience as lawyers, and that is you can have a judgment against someone that's not collectible. They don't have assets sufficient to satisfy in any way, shape, or form. It is worth only the paper that it's written on. Again, based upon our review of the debtor's examination documents and the prosecutor's office review of those in detail, that he would be uncollectible. We do not know whether he will or will not at some point in time go into bankruptcy. That is an option and a personal decision that he will have to decide with regard to his personal finances. We do believe, though, from our review of bankruptcy law, that even if we were to retain a judgment against him, it would probably be dischargeable in bankruptcy and therefore also uncollectible for that particular reason. We are receiving an additional amount, and this is going to be paid in two slightly different amounts. We are taking a 25% garnishment against his net pay check that he's receiving from this. His net pay is $35,073. We are receiving a 25% garnishment of that, and that would be the amount that we would be entitled to take, from him under law on the basis of our holding a judgment at this time. That 25% is $8,768. He is, in addition thereto, as I previously mentioned, paying us an additional $10,000 with regard to the Hartford settlement. So Mr. Zeigler will be paying us $18,768.37. His net, by the way, after all of his withholdings and other contributions from his gross pay of $79,000, his net cash before payment to us was $35,073. Mr. Zeigler's final net cash payment will be $16,305. Again, as we discussed a little bit, and as Mr. Henke indicated with regard to his agenda, we do have a second resolution on the agenda. We will not address it until such time as we actually receive Mr. Zeigler's resignation. His final resignation, and a copy of that is attached to this, is subject, of course, to the courts approving this judgment entry, and that is where Mr. Rhodes is right now. If and when Mr. Rhodes returns to us with the signed resignation and the approved judgment entry, we will at that time consider the resolution with regard to the appointment of an interim treasurer, which is within our purview. Other than that, I think those are the highlights of this particular agreement. And